why Endo's a good member of the squad. Ideally, we'd never see Endo because we'd have so much better quality, so much more quality that players who start games now maybe wouldn't be starting as many because they'd have this much better play to get past to get on the pitch. And that's not having a go at Endo. He is a squad player and he's got a great use for us at the minute, coming in towards the end of games as well, we've found. But again, ideally, you'd have someone better than that to be doing that. But you need these players that are just the next level on. Then it's a choice whether you go for them or you go for a youngster. And that's another difficulty, isn't it? But, a lot of what I've just said then is, looking at players playing out of position and things as well is another sort of issue that you can have. I think one thing about Darwin is, and we've always said this, we've said it so many times on this show, that as far as Liverpool fans are concerned, if you give it your all every game, it's not your fault if you're not good enough. It's the people who bought you. It's their fault. It's the person who's playing you and maybe out of position. It's their fault. It's the person who's playing you and has asked you to do something that you just cannot do. It's just not in your arsenal. And that to me is how we are. And that's where Darwin has suffered a little bit, is that we saw a couple of times where maybe he wasn't giving it his all. Divock Origi was not the best player ever to wear a Liverpool shirt, but you'll never hear a bad word said about him because when he played, he kind of gave it everything, and of course the famous goals. And I think this is the key thing now. But the other game we played before that Southampton game was Newcastle. We beat them 2-0. That was sort of, we had two games, didn't we, where we played City and we played Newcastle, and it was kind of like, I think the possession stats against City were like 30-17 in City's favour roughly, and then in the Liverpool Newcastle game it was switched around. Both games ended 2-0. Two different ways to win a game, but now that's who we're up against next: Milk Cup final, League Cup final, and there might be a need for players to play out of position. I'm saying that based on something Slot said today, because everyone's assuming that if Ibu's fit, and apparently what Slot said about that is he's not trained yet. They didn't train yesterday. The day before was recovery. So today, Friday, was the first day for him training. And he's expecting him to train, but we'll have to see how he is. So he's not really giving too much away. He said Trent, though, that pretty obvious when we saw Trent go off. We saw the way he landed. We saw the way he walked around the pitch. I still hate that when you can see a player's clearly injured, can you not just let him walk off? Just stop the clock, let him walk off the short way. But anyway, Trent eventually made it to the dressing room to get treatments. And I think it's quite clear he's not playing at Wembley. 2 years running, missing out on the final. And Slot said, yeah, indeed, he's not going to be there, but they're still assessing how long he's going to be out for, but he's hoping to have him back before the end of the season. So that then leaves right back. And everyone's assuming it's going to be, if Ibu's fit, it's going to be Kwanzaa. Some people are saying maybe Endo could go there. Slot said, I think maybe even Curtis can play there. But you can also play a left-footed defender on the right side, which is what Newcastle are doing at the moment. So I don't know. I just totally honestly assumed that. I didn't even think there were other options. I didn't even think of other options. Based on hopefully Ibu being fit. If Ibu's not fit, that's a different story. I think Kwanzaa has to go and fill in there. But apart from it sort of proving what we said all along, that we are very, very thin on the ground in defence, I'm not so sure. I don't know. I think Jarrell Kwanzaa's done enough of a job filling in at right back recently that we can rely on him, or can we?
Well, Tommy Tuchel seems to think he'll be all right because he's in the England team. So, not that we take much note of that. I just had the complaints of an Evertonian today as to why is he in the England squad and Jarrod Bromthwaite isn't, which...
and that's our fault, though, isn't it?
I don't know. Speak to the German fellow who's in charge of England. I get where he's coming from, because Jarrod Bromthwaite has probably arguably been in better form, playing more consistently than Kwanzaa. But, I don't give a damn about England. We know this, but I think yeah, like Kwanzaa will be in probably pole position to play right back. He's often come on in the last few weeks for Trent, whether it be 5, 10, 15 minutes or whatever, just to manage Trent in terms of he was coming off an injury, and slowly nursing him back in. So it is the obvious, and I think maybe Slot's just being a bit of a mind game player here, because he could have options, or maybe he's thinking, if it's the case that Kwanzaa has not got a lot of 90 minutes, or as we've seen last season, 120 in the Carabao Cup final in his legs, that should it be, last season, it was a mismatch in terms of James McConnell was in there, Bobby Clark was in there, Jaden Dans ended up on the pitch, didn't he? I think Lewis Kumas probably was in the squad. Don't know if he got on the pitch, can't remember exactly. But, we were really, digging down in the depths of the academy for players to get on the pitch. And if it's the case that, if the game goes the distance and Jarell Kwanzaa cannot maybe see out the 120 because, he's not got the match fitness in his legs, then yes, then maybe you might see cases drop into the right back, which I think he's played there once or twice before for us.
Yeah, I saw him. We played Leicester in the League Cup. Was it last season? Maybe early last season. He played at right back and he was captain that night.
Yeah.
Didn't do it again though for a while.
No, and I mean, he'll do a job. He's an athletic lad. He's right-footed, obviously, and he's tactically switched on. So if he needs to go there for half an hour or so, or 20 minutes at the end of the game, then that'll be fine. I think the idea of putting Robertson or Tsimikas, who, if we're honest here, are not having the best of seasons, they're having average seasons. If we're going to call it that. If you were to put them on the other side of the pitch, yes, fullback for fullback, I understand. But no, like, you just no. I think, that some of the gasps that went around that field when Darwin Núñez stepped forward the other night, half of Wembley on Sunday afternoon, if you've seen Costa Tsimikas lining up at right back, would be like, oh, don't like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, so, yeah, I think we know who it's going to be. And, the bedrock for that game, obviously the league fixture a couple of weeks ago, was good breeding ground for us in terms of, it's mentally in their heads now. We've just played these lads and we couldn't beat them. They come here last season with a depleted squad, and they managed to find a way over the line. These lads who were up against here have been there and done it. They're probably looking across at Van Dijk, Salah, McAllister, like lads who've won trophies, and in McAllister, the biggest prize in football. And they've probably got a couple of lads in their team who over their careers have won a couple of things, but it probably mentally is something that they've got to overcome, and I hope that we then also play into that. Like, don't take it for granted like you did with Southampton. However, you can beat these. You've done it the other week. Go out there and do it again. Go and prove it. And make sure we sort of erase the memory of what happened midweek against PSG. And, we look back on this week in the calendar and go, okay, well, that was a little bit of a blip. But at the end of that week, we come home with a trophy.
Yeah, and I think, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, my big worry when I saw that game going to extra time and penalties the other day was, my God, these players have got to pick themselves up, whatever the result, got to pick themselves up in a few days and go and play another final on a pitch that's renowned for sapping the energy out of players. For some reason, even within 90 minutes, it's a ground where you see players suffering from cramp time and again in games, whereas certainly when it's sort of playoffs and things. But we'll see how we are for fitness. I think he's got them geared up for this kind of thing. It's another huge game, and I just think we play better when it's a huge game. What I was thinking as well, though, I was just thinking when I was away last weekend, and I saw that score, my first thing I said was, it's all right, Slot will sort that at half time. And I've kind of got that. That's been kind of my philosophy during games when we've not been doing too well in the first half. That he'll go and sort it at half time, and he's done that time and time again. It's not about sort of planning ahead what you think is going to happen, and then when it doesn't go that way, thinking, "Oh my God, what do we do now?" He's good at thinking on his feet and working things out. And it was just interesting that I saw a thing today that when he was younger, his dad was a coach as well, and he'd sit by his dad's side on the bench for every match. And but at half time, he'd go in the dressing room to listen to what his dad was saying. His dad must have had some really good words of wisdom and some good ways of dealing with things at half time, because it's definitely sort of rubbed off on Slot. And that's the thing. I think the thing this weekend is, whatever happens in the first half, even if we're winning, Slot will look at ways to adjust it, just to stop giving them a hope of getting in. And I think it's going to be, I don't know, it's a massive game for them. They've not won a trophy since Everton. Even longer than Everton, I think, and that takes some doing, doesn't it? it's such a massive occasion for them. Another thing I noticed, by the way, when we're talking about how to get down there, how many times go down to Wembley we had engineering works on the trains and no one can get down there. Apparently for Newcastle fans, LNER put extra trains on somehow because they've got engineering works. They don't Virgin Trains or whoever never did that for us, did they? Anyway,
well, there was a train strike up until 2 weeks ago. They've only had 2 weeks ago that the trains are on, and I looked. I heard on the radio saying 10 o'clock news. I was on the train line up by about 10 past 10, and a return ticket was near £100.
Yeah.
And even then, there's 2 trains after probably what would be the final whistle. So if you think a 4:30 kickoff, if you were realistically saying, 7 o'clock as a buffer to get out the ground and get to a station, because getting to any station in Wembley is a nightmare anyway. There's 2 trains back to the northwest. It's not good enough.
No,
there should be something organised, or whether the club get involved or whatever and subsidise it. But they should be putting things on for the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's hard to put extra. I do know it's hard to put extra trains on because the way the timetables work, but it's not impossible, and it's just about having the appetite to want to do it. Everything's difficult, isn't it? But you do your best to make it happen. Clearly, LNER care more about their customers over that side of the country than Avanti do on our side of the country. But also, yeah, about the cost as well. I think I had to went to London with work for the day, and they paid the ticket obviously, but it was like. So I can't remember. It was like 230, 240 quid to go to London for the day on the train, which is like, it's just stupid. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They want to get people off the roads and using public transport. It would have been literally cheaper to take your car and, take the hit on the mileage, pay whatever for parking. In fact, just park somewhere outside on some park and ride maybe, because that was just the train ticket. Never mind all the other bits getting about in London. But that's capital, isn't it?
We factored in that, it was £100 return per person on the train. We factored in it's going to cost £100 between us in fuel to get to Wembley and back.
Yeah.
And pay the ULEZ charge. And, if we wanted, we could possibly even use the toll road. And you're paying 12 quid in the ULEZ. I think it's about 8 quid or something like that to use the toll road if you want to cut out half an hour, 40 minutes of the journey around the Midlands. And probably, economical driving, you'll get there on about 70 quid and back.
So you could even like throw the boat out and come detour via the Mersey Tunnel, like go the M55 go through the tunnel, and you'd still be quitting.
Honestly, if there's 4 of us in the car, it's 25 quid each. So. To say you don't want cars on the road, like, as you say, make public transport affordable. And, that's not just for the finals, that's just in general. This country is a mess for that. But, I do remember going to Wembley on chartered trains from Lime Street, and it just seems like as the last few years have gone on, there's less and less of them. I do remember, I think it was actually the Derby semi-final in the FA Cup, probably around about 2016 or something like that, if I remember rightly, around then, give or take. But we were on a chartered train from Lime Street, and then the Everton fans were on a chartered train. So, there was a couple that crossed trains, but they were like, if you're on the Liverpool train, platform 9, if you're on the Everton train, platform 7 or whatever, and off they went. There was like 3 or 4 trains that we could have went on from like 6:30 in the morning. And if things are taking time to work, like everyone knew when the final was, everyone knew the 2 teams in the final a few weeks ago. Plans, could have been put in place, but once again, were failed by the authorities.
Yeah, and you know what? You can actually plan the trains without actually having to run them. You can actually say, right, let's just pencil this in on the timetable, like privately, and then when it's time, if we need it, we'll release all these. So there are ways to do it. Anyway, that's enough. I'm sort of going to turn into a train spotter if I go on much more about this. I think, as for the game itself, though, yeah, I think we've shown we can beat them. My big worry about any final is it goes back to I can't remember who were we playing, Villa or someone, and it was Brendan Rodgers was manager, and we had a final at Wembley, and we just looked as nervous as hell, and I can't think who we were playing now. I just remember. Yeah, and
that was after the Everton semi-final.
Yeah, and we just looked so nervous and so out of sorts. That remains with me my big worry about finals. It's not that we can't beat whoever's in front of us, because I think we can on the day. I just think we've got to have our heads right, haven't we? And it's going to be loud from all sides of the ground, isn't it? Do you reckon we've done enough this season that we can trust these lads to not be too nervy?
I think so. I think, you know, as I said earlier, and the lads who we've got in our team, it's the same as last year. You know, give or take one or two that have probably gone. The only addition was Chiesa, and he'll be there to sit on the bench and run up and down the touchline for a couple of warm ups. But what is going to take the field for us are lads who were there last year. Okay, there was a couple that were missing in terms of.
Right, the Reds, it's Jack here, and that was a clip from one of Anfield Index's audio podcasts. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure you do like, share, and subscribe to keep up to date on all things LFC. We record around 100 audio podcasts every month, with our shows featuring match-going fans, top journalists, professional analysts, and even Liverpool legends along the way. With the great Dane himself, Jan Molby, joining us every single week. If you want to listen to all our podcasts for free, head over to anfieldindex.com/podcasts. Our audio shows are available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Anfield Index. Or if you prefer to listen to all our podcasts in full and without any ads, why not head over to AI Pro today to check it out now at AnfieldIndexPro.com. If you want to get involved in the great growing community of Liverpool fans, check out the Anfield Index Discord. The link is in the description. Do get involved with that, from Reds around every corner of the globe. For now, Reds, hope you enjoyed this video.